All right, welcome back to TML Weekly. This is episode 25, as always presented by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Grill. To kick things off, we got some news that came out today. The Toronto Maple Leafs ECHL affiliates, the Newfoundland Growlers. Johnny Mac, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so it could have been way worse because I've been following this, obviously being here on the East Coast. So a company called Deacon Sports or something like that owns both of the franchises, one in Trois-Rivières. I think that's affiliated with the Habs, and then of course Newfoundland Growlers, where Terry Ryan actually made a comeback this year at 47 or 48 years old. He played a game. They have been having some financial problems. It's very tough to run. They found that back in the American Hockey League days in Newfoundland, very difficult to travel there. Obviously, you got to fly. All the other teams are pretty close together in most markets. So I know that the local teams have had to subsidize some of the travel coming in, whether it's hotels or part of the flights or whatever. They get a little piece of the gate, and they just haven't been able to make a go of it. So my concern obviously is for the players. The way it was worded when they made the announcement today is anybody on an NHL deal that would be like NHL, AHL, ECHL, or a two-way deal, AHL, ECHL, are no longer allowed or permitted to play in the East Coast Hockey League this season. Okay, so that concerned me. Everybody else is a free agent, and they're going to, there's some good players. They're a pretty good group. But all the guys that were on two-way deals are going to report to the Marlies. So nobody's going to get left out here. I don't think. There might be a couple of, their bottom-end players that might not catch on anywhere. But it's unfortunate. Newfoundland, very, very, passionate hockey people. You just, hopefully something ends up back there, but I'm not optimistic. They've tried everything. The American Hockey League, Quebec Major Junior League went there. Same thing. They had to subsidize the travel coming in. So, it's a shame. It must be bad, or they wouldn't have pulled the pin now. I mean, let's face it. There's half dozen games left in playoffs, so it's unfortunate, but, part of the business. I think more is going to come out maybe about the mismanagement of the Deacon Group. They were mandated to sell both franchises and ended up at the last minute getting a deal done in Trois-Rivières, so that franchise is going to keep going. That's all I have on that for now, but I'm just happy that the players are going to be accommodated.
Yeah, I mean, to build on it, Johnny, I look at it and listen. My dad was a Newfoundland boy, born and bred, so he loved it when St. John's got the baby Leafs out there. Yep. And I can tell you the fan base. You're very correct. They're a rabid fan base. They love their hockey, but it's a long way away, and people don't. I think the average person doesn't quite recognize the cost in travel. And it adds up when the gate is not primetime dollars. It adds up quickly. My only critique and the only thing that for me I would like to have seen here, and frankly I'm disappointed that we didn't see, was MLSE take more of an active role. Once the league itself decided, you know what, we gave you your opportunity, we're shutting it down. I feel like at some point in time, somebody from MLSE could have gone in and said, you know what, we own everything. Why not own this for the next 3 months, take the hit, do the right thing, put our players that we have in that league in a position to be successful. That's my only frustration with this. Don't know if it was possible. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't think it was possible. I think you're bang on. That makes the most sense. I think what you're going to find out as more details come out, the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment's a creditor, right? So this company that's kind of run the team into the ground financially in Newfoundland, they owe Toronto Maple Leafs money. So it's one of those, hey, do we, it's a difficult, and this was a league decision. This came from the East Coast Hockey League, and, Toronto needs to maintain, obviously, a rapport with that group because they're going to have their lower level prospects, coming through. So, yeah, I hear you on that, but I think that it's not as easy as you think.
Never is.
Yeah, for sure. It's crappy, right? I had one of my old buddies that God rest his soul, was a fan favorite with the Baby Leafs. He played up with the big club there for a bit too. Do you remember a guy by the name of Greg Smith with a Y? They called him the Bird Dog. Yeah. So Bird Dog and I were pretty good buddies back in the day. Great guy. He
wasn't here long, but he had a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and he was a first round pick. He was a London Knight. He was a first round pick to Philadelphia in 1987. He actually played in the Stanley Cup final against Edmonton that year as a defenseman. Before he had a regular season game, he played in the Stanley Cup final. Great character. You talk to anybody that played with Bird, character, fighter, great teammate, the whole 9 yards. He's the guy I told you about when he was roommates with Berube in Calgary, and they would call me in Norway.
I remember that story. That was a good story.
Yeah, so that was Bird, and he passed away from cancer a few years ago in Newfoundland. He ended up staying there, married a girl. He was a Labatt Brewery rep, till his passing. Yeah. What do we got next there, Big No?
Just gonna move into a couple signings the Leafs have had recently. Extended Simon Benoit to a 3-year extension. It's a $1.35 million cap hit. What are your guys' initial thoughts?
Who's angry at that? Like,
Cappy.
Like that's just. And you know what? You know who I'm most happy for? I'm most happy for Simone Benoit. There's a kid that earned it. Like, I don't know if you guys. If you remember last week, right when it's the Buffalo game, and right before everything started to go crazy there at the end, and there was that melee in front of the net. And I don't know if they touched on it on the broadcast or not, but there's a scramble going on. Benoit's a little out of position and realizes he can't get to the puck. So he does what, Johnny, you would teach anybody to do. Plow the guy out in front of the net and take him out of the play. And I thought, where has that – like that is exactly what this team has missed and has needed for years. And if we can get that guy and he can slot in as a 5-6 and make $1 million change for the next 3 years, great move. Great move. Love it all kinds.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a little shocked they got him for that little, honestly. What was his status? What would he have been? Unrestricted?
Unrestricted.
No, I think we did RFA, actually.
Was he on an entry-level deal, though? I thought he was undrafted.
I'm not too sure how all the contract stuff works.
Yeah. I think it's a team-friendly deal. I think the kid has earned it. I think he's going to be a part of this team for, a real good depth guy, and then to add to what John said about moving in front of the net. This team over the ladder, I hope our listeners and viewers are paying attention, because this team is playing the right way most of the time. Not all the time, right? They still have their lapses and this and that. But I've seen more tenacity. I've seen more stick up for your teammates. I've seen more initiating the physicality instead of being victims of physicality over the last 15 or 20 games. And I think a lot of it has to do with the emergence of guys like Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi, that they're starting to come into their own and really contributing and helping this team find an identity. And I love the chemistry with them at 34. I mean, he's got a swagger, right? And he's always had a swagger. But I'm telling you right now, when he's on that line with those two guys, right? Either one of them will absolutely do whatever it takes to protect him. And he's never had that. He's never had that in his pro career. Bunting, okay. He would
Hyman?
try. Right? Hyman, to a certain extent, too. But you got two guys that can play on the first line, right? Which is key. You can't have Ryan Reeves out there protecting Austin Matthews, right? But you've got a couple guys that are contributing. So now that just adds to the talk that we talked a couple weeks ago about having a 9. And if you look at the kid line, I love what they're doing, right? You bring 16 back and put him back with his old line of Nylander and Marner and Tavares in the middle. Then you got Bobby McMahon that competes with the 3 guys on the kid line for a spot there, right? And then whoever I like the way they're playing. I know, John, they collapsed. It's Florida Panthers. I didn't think after the second period that they were going to coast to an 8 or 9-1 win. And if you do, you haven't watched the Florida Panthers play very often.
Were you? Let me ask you this question: were you surprised with 2 minutes to go in the game that Ryan Reeves was on the ice?
No, I'm okay with that because you're putting your play. You know why?
I'm.
You know why?
To hear this.
Because if they're going to be successful in the playoffs, right? Every single guy has to be put in these positions to either fail or succeed. And at the end of the day, they win the game. I didn't like the end, right? Nobody did. But at the end of the day, they won the game. They did, and they're trending in the right way, right? Who won our little pool? What do they end up with points?
6 points.
Who said 6?
Both of you. Not me. I had to give it to you.
Your streak's over.
But listen, I think it's important to delve into this because, like you said, John, everybody is going to be required to play their part, and I agree with you 100%. But what I think we need to recognize is not everybody's part's equal. I don't care what the scenario is. Ryan Reeves should not be on the ice with 2 minutes to go in a hockey game where you are chasing that team for home ice advantage. Sorry, man, you just shouldn't happen. There's and then to say things like, well, we've got to put them in a situation to succeed or to fail. The reality is he failed. But there's a reason he failed. He plays 8 minutes a night. He's slow as molasses in January and skates on one knee. He shouldn't be on the ice in that situation, which, and I'll only say it once, goes back to my point on this coach not putting his team in the best positions to be successful.
Did they win the game?
They won the game. Yeah, but they had to hold on for all dear life to do it.
Good, good, because that's better than coasting to a 5-1.
But they
better
didn't
than coasting to a 5-1. Doesn't matter. They won the game. At the end of the day, they won the game. Right? They didn't.
John, when I saw Reeves out there, 2-3 minutes left, I thought the same thing. I thought, what's he doing out there? But
no, I like it.
I kind of saw it as a tryout. If Keefe wants to know if he can play in the playoffs, so he's putting him out there.
Sheldon Keefe has coached his team all year. He's played him an average of 8 minutes a game.
But he's trying to see if he's ready to play in the playoffs.
But he knows who Nolan, we know who he is. If he doesn't know who Ryan Reeves is at this point in his career, I don't know what to say.
But you got to give him an opportunity to try to prove himself that he can play in the playoffs. He can play in high pressure situations. I agree.
And what did we learn from this?
2 minutes left. 2 minutes left in that game is like 2 minutes into a playoff game, right? So he's not sitting here saying, "Oh, I got to see if Ryan Reeves can play in the last 2 minutes of a hockey game," right? That's not going to happen in the playoffs. But he's trying to see if Ryan Reeves can play on this team in the playoffs because they have enough options that they won't really need him.
I had a debate with somebody today who I really respect, who made the point to me that he thought that Ryan Reeves is an absolute stone cold lock to play in the playoffs based on what he saw in that game.
No.
Stone cold lock, he said. And listen, he runs a very respectable Maple Leaf site, and he's of the mindset. And I'll be very honest, there are a lot of people that are very much sold on the idea. And believe me, I am not telling you I am that person. I don't think he's a stone cold lock at all. I have a funny feeling we end up against Boston or we end up against Florida, you're going to see a Kyle Clifford, Wayne Simmons situation where he goes out and tries to make an impact and tries to force himself into a game and takes a dumbass penalty. And then our penalty kill, which is at the best of times, gets forced into something. That's my fear with
the team toughness that the Toronto Maple Leafs have right now, and I'm talking team toughness. I'm talking
Edmonton,
top to bottom.
Yeah.
Yes, is more than it's been in the Big Four era. Right?
I agree.
So here's a situation where I, as Sheldon Keefe, dress Ryan Reeves. Game 1, no
chance. I agree.
Right? Kachuk and some of these guys, if it's Florida or Boston, are running around in the first game and they get pushed around a little bit and they need an answer for that. Maybe he comes in.
Yeah, it's a 5-1 blowout. You get gut checked. Fair enough. I'm with you.
Yeah, that I don't see him there opening night. I mean, what you're going to sit? Who are you going to sit? Who are you going to sit for him? Right, Dewar? No, he's been great.
And be very clear, Dewar's been on our penalty kill, and our penalty kill's been better. So you can't sit him, I don't think.
No.
Now, granted, you're going to have Marner back in the lineup, and Marner's going to eat a lot of those minutes. But still,
you're going to have one of those 3 kids on the fourth line. That's on that line now. So that may not fare well for
who it's going to be. Who it's going to be.
Robertson can't play on the fourth line.
But
if he's not in your top 90, there's no sense having him.
But so that's what I'm saying to you. If Ryan Reeves is in, the first person to go is going to be Nick Robertson. I don't agree with it. But I'm telling you, with Sheldon Keefe, he doesn't want Robertson to begin with. So Robertson,
I think Robertson's gone. Even if Reeves is gone, I don't see where he fits in.
What's your ideal fourth line for the playoffs?
Well, Dewar for sure.
Dewar's there.
And honestly, probably maybe a Bobby McMahon.
He was in the top 9, no?
Well, you'd think, but if Robertson stays in the top 9, where Robertson cannot play on the fourth line, Bobby McMahon can.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's the way I look at it, and that's not a bad problem to have when you got Bobby McMahon on your fourth line.
No, but I like. If I'm looking at the playoffs, I'm also of the mindset John Tavares can't be your second line center. Simply can't.
He's not going to be. There's going to be 3 lines.
But what I'm saying is, so let's look at Matthew Nyes, Nick Robertson, and John Tavares. When they've played together and they've been allowed to play together, what have you seen? You've seen things that you like from not just John Tavares, but you've seen a lot to like from Matthew Nyes, and you've seen the best hockey that Nick Robertson has played in his career. Now,
I'm not disagreeing.
So I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, as much as I love McMatthews, and I do, I think the kid's great, and we'll get into the Leaf signing from Quinnipiac, because the head coach down there at Quinnipiac made a couple of good analogies, and he said, who do you think this kid's going to be like? And a lot of the comments were very much like Bobby McMahon. And I think as a Leaf fan, that's who's not happy with the way McMahon's played. But McMahon gives you flexibility. Even if he's on the fourth line and he's dressed, he gives you flexibility. Because invariably, one of our top guys, and Sheldon, he likes to throw everything into a blender, and the lines are what the lines are for the first 10 minutes, and then everything doesn't matter again. So McMahon's going to be able to move up and move down. And frankly, I think with the way he's played, he's earned himself in on a second power play option. So even if you're only playing on the fourth line on a regular shift, you're still going to be getting power play minutes. And I think he's still more valuable in the lineup playing on the second.
He's been
power.
killing penalties too.
But that's what I mean though. Like he's like I think Bobby McMahon. I can't even believe we're having a discussion where Bobby McMahon might not play.
Well, Bobby McMahon's going to play.
That's what I'm saying. He has to play, right?
But I see him on the fourth line, right? I do, and I don't disagree. Maybe you bump Tavares down with the kids, right? And you put Willie in the middle, on the second. I don't know.
I mean, Tavares
there's options
in 2 years. Like he's played his best hockey in 2 years in the last 2 months that he's played with those kids.
Yeah.
So,
well, and quite frankly, he's had to, right? When you got the injuries that they've had, and their D was banged up, and Rielly's your best defenseman. He's been out for a while. Marner, your playmaker, your top skill guy, pass guy, out, and they're still rolling, man. And they're playing the right way for the most part, right? They're looking after each other.
I agree.
I've seen so many instances, and you can name dozens of them over the last several games, that these guys like, oh wow, they're initiating the physicality. They're not waiting for somebody to ragdoll Matthews and then make a big deal out of it. They're initiating it. They're in the guys' faces saying, hey, we're not going to be pushed around anymore.
What was your reaction then? Because I'll tell you, I was disappointed with Reeves on Saturday night in Buffalo. And I was disappointed because while I loved everybody getting in the melee in front of the net, and Matthews got tossed. Now, whether he needed to get tossed or didn't get tossed, I think it was fairly irrelevant. However, I was waiting to see whether or not he was going to get the shoulder tap to come over the boards.
Yep.
And he did.
Yep.
And then nothing happened. And
nobody's going to fight him. Nobody on that team's going to fight him.
You know what?
Who's going to fight him?
It doesn't matter, John. You go in and you grab somebody and you tune them just because.
I don't disagree on principle, but I don't think I don't think against a non-playoff team.
You just got your MVP candidate kicked out of the game, and somebody grabbing a hold of him, and the coach tapped you on the shoulder.
Nobody really. He grabbed Thompson. Nobody grabbed Matthews. Matthews did the grab it.
Doesn't matter.
He had Thompson in a headlock.
I don't think it matters.
You know what? I'm okay with Reeves not jumping somebody. You're winning 3-0, right?
There's a minute and a half to go in the game. Game's over.
Yeah. If there had been a willing combatant, I'm sure if Buffalo had, if Barnaby was still there or Rob Ray or one of those guys, yeah, for sure. He's not going to – you don't want him jumping Rasmus Dahlin. I was hoping that Bertuzzi would have punched him out.
Who?
Bertuzzi had Dahlin at the beginning of that melee, and he laid off, and then he ended up fighting, and then Dahlin got into it with McMahon, and
Now listen, I'm not saying beat up Rasmus Dahlin if you're Tyler Bertuzzi.
Well, why not?
Yeah, that's not the best look. I don't think if you're
bigger than him,
Bertuzzi, right? If you're Ryan Reeves has got to grab whoever is on the ice and do his job. That's to my mind. I've seen it. Here's my only critique of Ryan Reeves this year, and we all know when this season started, nobody was a bigger proponent of bringing Ryan Reeves in than I was. Nobody was. I loved Ryan Reeves. I thought Ryan Reeves was going to come in and be a great guy and do all the room stuff, and maybe he is, and maybe that's part of why everybody's gelling. And if it is, then I'm okay. But I've seen so many times this year where I
had a problem in the Boston game when Marchand ran.
That's what I'm saying. Like but John, I could go down and go through.
That was different to me than this. It's
different, but it's the same. Do you know what I mean? It's 3 or 4 times where this has happened where you expect something. And then, you know what? And then when does he come out and do something? He fights the guy from the Rangers who was like, that was like a boxing show that everybody in the world was going to come on. It's like, we know that's good. Like, do you understand the difference in what I'm saying though? Like, I want to see.
Yeah, but his value came in last night. When he made Matthew Tkachuk almost crap his pants because he was that's his value. That's his value.
I agree.
right? He doesn't need to grab somebody and beat them. They just need to know that he's around if they want to cross lines like Matthew Tkachuk. See, he's a scratch tonight, eh? So, you know.
Was he?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's a load management thing because it's a back-to-back and he's nursing some stuff. But you're fighting for the home ice like you just said, and every point matters right now. That would be concerning to me as a Florida Panthers fan, that you're gonna scratch, arguably your best player, at when points are at a premium. So how healthy is he going into the playoffs, right? Or is it hey, you know what? Let's scratch him and try to get him going.
Yeah.
Well,
because
hasn't been very good.
Speaking about the points mattering, Leafs are getting back Morgan Rielly tomorrow, and Mitch Marner's expected to come back on Saturday against Montreal.
Okay, so let me ask this uncomfortable question. Let's take a look at what the Leafs record is without Morgan Rielly this year.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Pretty good.
8-1 without Rielly. 3-1 this past 4 games without him. And without Marner on the season, 8-3-1.
So let's have I can't believe we're going to say that. Let's start with 44. My personal take on, listen, I am not taking away from Morgan Rielly. Morgan Rielly is a fantastic defenseman. He is probably a top pair guy on almost every team but 2 or 3 in the league. However, from what my observation of this team is they play fundamentally different hockey when Morgan Rielly is in the lineup. They're far less defensively responsible as a unit. And I'm not talking about individual. I'm saying defensively as a unit, we seem, by my observation, to operate on a far more responsible defensive metric than we do with Morgan Rielly in the lineup. And I know it's a smaller sample size, but 10 games is an eighth of the season, right? And that's, over different periods. I don't know. I'm not saying we're a better team if Morgan Rielly's not in the lineup, because I don't think you can logically make that opinion.
No.
But we seem to play a fundamentally different style. And so can a team be better playing a different style, or can we keep this style of play and incorporate him back into the lineup? I don't know. Just
that's the ultimate goal for sure. But you're indirectly right now you're giving Sheldon Keefe a lot of credit. Just saying.
I don't think so.
Well, we're talking about how good their record is without some of their best players. So, as a coach, I don't know. And yeah, you would like to think that they could play that responsible way. Sometimes, Morgan Rielly, he's a real popular guy in that room. He's a glue guy in that room.
100%.
When a guy like him is out, the other guys feel that responsibility to say, okay. But you're right. Like, why don't they do that when he's there, right? But it's at the end of the day, I like the way this team's trending. You're getting guys back. Having Morgan Rielly back.
John, don't misunderstand the point.
No, I know where you're going.
I'm not saying I don't want Morgan Rielly in the lineup. I'm just saying as a point of conversation, because it comes to me a lot. I hear a lot of people that are hating on Morgan Rielly, and I'm not that guy at all. I like Morgan Rielly.
Anybody that thinks this team would be better without Morgan Rielly's nuts.
No, but however though, and there is a subset of the fan base that does feel that way. They might not be right, but they do feel that way. I do think there is merit, though, to at least look at why we play so functionally different with him in the lineup. I wish I had it.
It's not functionally different. It's not functionally different.
I don't know. It's pretty functionally different to me, John.
Wow. If that was the case, they'd move him. If they thought that.
No. But again,
Yeah.
the difference is not that we're a better team without him in the lineup.
Well, of course not.
But why do we play so defensively responsible when
Yeah, but you're painting the whole season with the same brush and saying that if Morgan Rielly's not playing, Toronto plays the right way. So has Toronto played the right way ever with Morgan Rielly in the lineup?
What I'm saying to you is, if you look at the sample size of the games where he hasn't been there,
yeah.
And I'm arguing a point I don't even necessarily believe in, right? But I'm just saying, if you look at the games that he hasn't been there in the lineup, we've got a great record, and on top of that, I don't know what our goals against is. It'd be interesting to see what the goals against are, but we seem to play more responsibly defensively. I don't know. That's my take on it.
I think sometimes when you're missing a key guy, the record over the last several years with Matthews out of the lineup's high too. They have a good record with Matthews out of the lineup.
Marner too. And so
guys kind of, that's when the Bobby McMahons and the Simon Benoits and stuff, they get more ice. They get the opportunity. Right. And that's a real good thing going into a playoff run.
We all agree 100%.
That's kind of where I'm looking at where this team is from a mental and a psyche standpoint. And I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. I think that this is the best prepared team that I can remember over the last several years. Do you think we're a better prepared team than we were this time last year? Yeah.
Really?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah. I do. And I think the emergence of Bertuzzi and Domi are, Bob McMahon, Simon Benoit, like you got guys that, at the beginning of the year, I mean, if they had been able to move Tyler Bertuzzi at Christmas time, they probably would have. I'm sure there was conversations at that time. Right?
Dude took 80% of the season off.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to move?
Let's get that cap space and going into the deadline. And they, thank goodness they stayed pat on that. But I'm telling you, you've got a top 9, and we just talked about it, and that's probably without a Bobby McMahon. Without a Bobby McMahon, the way he's played. And now you tell me what team forget about the East, I'm talking about the National Hockey League, that can figure out a way to defend that 9. Who do you play? Because nobody else has that. You got top 6 and you got a pretty good third line, pretty good fourth line. You got a top 9
Dallas is pretty good. Dallas is the team that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah, they're deep.
Carolina's got pretty good.
Not this team.
Carolina's pretty good too. Carolina can go pretty deep on you.
Up front, not this deep. There's not a team in the NHL that can do what and they wouldn't have been able to do it without the emergence of Domi and Bertuzzi, playing the way they are. Bobby McMahon, Robertson, even, right? That's why I keep thinking, okay, let's he could play in that top 9. So could Bobby McMahon. But Bobby McMahon could play on the fourth line, and Nick Robertson, he's not going to help you there.
We've also got Calle Yarncroc coming back soon too.
Right. So there's Calle Yarncroc, Bobby McMahon, and Dewar and Camp are fighting for 3 spots.
Okay, so I think I brought this up last week. Everybody in Leafland loves Calle Yarncroc, right? Nobody's got a bad thing to say about Calle Yarncroc, right?
I like him. Yeah.
If you look statistically, Calle Yarncroc and Nick Robertson are the same player. Statistically, I'm not saying on the ice. Now, be very clear. I'm not saying that, right? For what Calle Yarncroc can move up and down the line with ease. I'm not saying that they're the same player, but I'm saying statistically, for the amount of Calle Yarncroc, I think is get on average another 3 or 4 minutes a night over what Nick Robertson is, and Nick Robertson's production is on par.
Yeah, production, but look at his game away from the puck.
No,
that's where Calle Yarncroc is valuable.
But John, that's exactly I made the point though, right? I made the point. Calle Yarncroc can play up and down, and you trust him.
100%. I trust him on all 4 lines. 100%. He's got to be healthy though. He's got to be healthy, but he handles the puck when he has it, And when he doesn't have it, he's in the right spots and he's in the right lanes and his stick's in the right areas. Nicholas Robertson cannot play without the puck.
He struggles. I agree.
He runs around. And, you know, and I mean, the goal he scored last night was an absolute beauty. He's got speed. He's got finish. He passes the puck well, right? He's got a good nose for the net. He doesn't mind getting dirty. He's not the biggest guy. He doesn't mind mixing it up and going into hard areas, but it's his game away from the puck. It's his game when they get pinned and he's not strong enough or whatever it is, or he gets himself in a bad position in his own end. And he's not necessarily costing them goals, but costing them chances, right? You don't get that puck out. You don't get that puck out. It goes D to D. You know, you got traffic in front. That's where Kelly Yarncroc. So, you know, hopefully, you know, I'd like to see Robertson get a chance in the playoffs. He may not because of his defensive liability, right?
Yeah, I mean
that's why you couldn't have him on the fourth line.
No, I think we're all in agreement that fourth line's got to be a tight.
Oh, they got to be responsible.
Yeah,
they got to go out there for 25 seconds, hit 3 or 4 guys, get a draw in the own zone in the O zone, and come off.
But again, right? Which is why I think there's a 0 chance that Ryan Reeves is a lock to be on that line.
No, I don't even. We've talked about it.
Yeah, I agree.
We're talking. He's not going to be there.
We're in agreement. Unless
the series gets goofy.
Unless it gets goofy, but I'm saying there's a lot of people in Leafland right now who are going to be looking at us going, "You two guys are crazy if you don't think the Leafs need Ryan Reeves." And I'm just telling you, if you've listened to anything that we've just said in the last 15 minutes, I don't know that there's a place for Ryan Reeves in the lineup unless things get goofy.
Yeah, I agree. You know, but if it gets goofy and he's got to come out there and send a message, then, you know, so be it.
Before we leave this, Mitch Marner's coming back. Does Mitch I know the Savior and Mitch love to play together, and I get it. I do. They're buddies on off ice. They've got great. You can't knock the chemistry. Dude's got 62 goals this year. However, do you break up? We talked about it earlier. The Savior right now is playing with a little bit of a swagger. And most importantly, he has jump-started Bertuzzi from his slumber. So at this point, for me, and I can't even believe I'm singing the praises of Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi, but I don't think you can break that line up. I think you've got to put Marner with Nylander and hope to hell that those two can come up with something. I really think that's the option here.
Do you want to hear a pretty cool Bertuzzi stat?
I'd love a good Bertuzzi stat.
So Marner's been out the last 8 games. Bertuzzi's last 7 games, 6 goals, 1 assist, +4.
And so, listen, and I'd be curious, how many assists does Matthews have on those goals?
I think he's getting some assists.
That's what I'm saying. It's a little different now, isn't it? Have you noticed that in the box scores? You're starting to see Matthews' assists pick up a little bit. And so, for everybody that's out there that says Austin Matthews is only a product of what Mitch Marner makes him, I'm telling you guys, pay attention to what's taking place right now on that top line. Austin Matthews can drive a line, whether he's playing with me and Nolan. Okay. Nolan and I would score 20 goals playing with Austin Matthews.
Yeah. To me, you need to split them up. You need to
especially if
whoever's coaching against them,
especially
if your poison guys. Yeah. Who are you going to put? What are you going to do here? How do you play these guys? You know, whether you're at home or on the road, doesn't matter. Who are you going to match? Okay, go ahead. Put your checking line on Matthews, right? Then put your second checking line on, Willie and Marner. And then you got the kids in Tavares that could, all of a sudden do their damage. This team is looking good. I think my message right now, forget about playoff seedings, forget about those points. keep doing what they're doing and stay healthy. We
Stay
don't
healthy.
want anybody, doing something stupid or,
Let's talk about the health, because
yeah.
right now we've got. I mean, it's great that at 44 is coming back, but we still have Edmondson and Timmy, and from what I've heard after practice today, don't expect to see those boys before the end of the year.
I think you'll see Edmondson. I don't think you'll see Liljegren.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll see Edmondson again before the end of the season and ready for the playoffs. He's a wily old vet that will play, right? If the playoffs were starting tomorrow, Joel Edmondson's in the lineup. Liljegren, different story. Different player, different mindset, different mentality, different skill set, right? Liljegren, maybe, end of first round kind of thing. His is more serious for sure.
So let's say let's remove Liljegren from the equation then.
Yep.
And let's start with round one. What does your top 6 look like? Nolan.
Put me on the spot here. Rielly, Labushkin. McCabe and Benoit. Either side. Probably Benoit with McCabe on the right. And then I guess Edmondson and Brody. But Brody doesn't really work too well on the right side, as we found out. So do you put Timmins in?
Well, Coach hates Timmins, so
I don't know.
I didn't like his game last night. Again, to me, I would look at where Edmondson is health-wise. It's a hard question to ask right now based on
but I'm saying, like,
the opponent matters. The opponent matters. There could be tweaks based on who you're playing. Obviously, Rielly, you want to try to keep Brody on the left side.
I think you have to at this point.
Yeah, Benoit. I mean, there's a lot of options. They're fine. I think he can. He's got to get one of those two back, or probably Timmins will be in. I didn't like his game last night. I just didn't. And I think maybe it's a confidence thing. He's gripping his stick a little bit, afraid. Okay, well, I throw up a pancake and I'm out of the lineup for 6 weeks, right? So, they're deep. There's 8 or 9 NHL defensemen that are going to be available, which is great, right? Well, goaltending is starting to come back.
Right? We never even spoke about Gio.
There's 8 or 9. Yeah, he's Gio's Gio, right? If you can limit his minutes, he's going to help you. And he's that guy. Who was the first guy that went crazy when Brody got hit the other night?
Listen, Gio. To me, and I'm just saying, if it's me, I don't think you can start this playoff without Gio in the lineup as a 6th defenseman. I think Gio is your 6th defenseman. I really do.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I see some value depending on the injuries.
Could you see us going 11-7?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. 100%, right? I could. Yeah,
I think
100% I could. Too.
And then that takes the Reeves conversation right out of the
he's gone. Then your 2 extras. If you look at it, if Robertson's in the lineup. Well, no. What about Camp? Camp's out if we go right. So that this is a good problem to have.
I agree, John.
And they've never had this. They've never had this much depth. I don't care what you say. In the last 5-6 years, they have not. Had
last year we were pretty deep. Last year, like if we're being honest, with O'Reilly and Lafferty, and we were like last year we were pretty deep. Last year,
yeah, but Lafferty isn't on this. Lafferty isn't part of this top. If you're going with 11D, Lafferty's not one of those 11 right now, based on what I've seen. Okay, if you look, I mean, maybe in for Robertson, but Lafferty doesn't have the offensive upside that Robertson has.
Fair point. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Last year going into the playoffs, I thought the kid we got from Chicago, 22, McCabe, awful. I didn't think he was good when they got him at the trade deadline. And I didn't think he played the way I thought. Right. Now he's playing the way that he came advertised. Right. Labushkin. So you trade him out for Luke Shen. Right. Other than the fighting, which Luke Shen brings, which you don't really need in the playoffs anyway. Labushkin is younger, faster.
You know how I feel about
Labushkin. Better, skates better. Right, hits just like Shen, block shots. So you're not giving anything up there. Now you take who else? So what's his name? The Bunting, right? So you take Bunting out. Was he here last year?
Yeah,
Bunting was here.
So you take Bunting out, right? Bertuzzi, right? You take Ryan O'Reilly, and you've got Domi. Like. That are these guys are playing the right way going into the right time.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
And listen, I agree with you, John. I am optimistic as well. I am. I'm just saying from a depth perspective, I think we're on par with where we were last year. We're at least in the wheelhouse. But I agree. Last year's team and this year's team decidedly better than what we iced in the previous incarnation of the Maple Leafs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we talked last week about who you want in the playoffs. I don't think it matters. I really don't. Like any of those four options, Florida, Boston, New York, or Carolina.
Well, I think it's Florida.
I don't think any of those teams would choose to play Toronto right now. I really don't. If I'm coaching one of those teams, I'm going, okay.
I feel like even if we slide into the fifth spot, though, we're still going to get one of Florida or Boston. Because of the way it breaks down. Like I think it's almost the only two options for us at this point.
I want Florida or Boston. I love Florida that. Or Boston. I love Florida or Boston.
I'm going to say I like Florida because bad things happen to us in Boston. Bad things. Just unspeakably bad things. And I just if there's any way that we can avoid Boston, I'm in. I'll sign up for whatever the program is that allows us to avoid Boston just because of bad things happen to us in Boston.
So you'd rather go to Boston? You'd rather go to the Boston in the second round when you haven't got out of the second round?
I'd rather hope whoever the hell played Boston beat Boston and we got whoever beat Boston in the first round.
Yeah, I would rather beat Boston.
I'd rather beat Boston. I just know that bad things happen to us.
I believe that. Yeah, but that's it's a different team. It's a different. You gotta. I don't think they have a mindset that they're going to go in and go, "Oh my God, we're going to lose in Boston again."
I don't think that's the mindset at all. I just think that's the reality.
Yeah. Now Boston isn't the Boston of old. They don't have the weapons that they had. They don't have Chara. They don't have Bertuzzi.
Hold on. But I just want to be very clear because remember we said that at the beginning of the year. And who's in first place in the division right now?
Who cares? Who cares?
I'm just saying. Everybody.
They were first place last year too. How'd that work out?
And yet there they are in first place again.
I don't care where you are in the standings. It doesn't matter. Get into the playoffs and see what happens. That team's not going to. That team will not go deep. Whether they just don't see it. I don't see the leadership that they've had in the past. That's there. I love Marshy, the local kid here. I love him, but
Pasternak's freaking great.
Yeah, he's a great player, right? For sure. I don't see that team as good.
For me, speaking on behalf of the fan base, I'm just saying if we can avoid Boston, I'm all in.
Big question here. Do you guys think Matthews will score 70? He got 2 goals last night up to 62. He needs 8 goals in his last 8 games.
I would not be surprised if he did it, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did it, but I would be reluctant, and I don't want this to come out the wrong way. If I'm Sheldon Keefe, I'm going to give him the opportunities here over the next 3 or 4 games. But as we get down to the crunch time, if you get locked into a seed, right, and I can give Austin Matthews a night off,
Right.
I may look at doing that. Like, to me,
it's not a priority to score 70 goals.
Yeah, like your last 2 games are against Florida and Tampa down there, right? If you're locked into where you want to go, do you want Matthews out there and having Matthew Tkachuk running around like a maniac to hope he gets his 70th goal? As a coach, I'm probably going to have that conversation and say, you know what, we got 8 left. What do they got, 8 or 9? 8?
8 games left.
Yeah, so I'm going to go, hey, Austin, you're going to get a lot of ice time over the next 5 or 6. You may sit the last couple, or not play a lot. Or I just, I'd love to see him get 70. So does Keith. Keith would want that too, but you've got to look at the team. And Austin's a team guy first. If it's a better decision for him to sit on 68 or 69 goals and not play against Florida on the regular season finale, that means nothing. Austin would agree to that.
If he scores 67, do you think that'll lift the curse?
Oh, that's a
great question. That's a great question. So here's what I will say to you, and I'm going to say the other side of what John's saying, and I don't necessarily agree with what I'm going to say, but I'm going to argue it from. I guarantee you, this is what a high percentage of this fan base will say. A high percentage of this fan base will say, last year he did the same thing to Marner when Marner could have got to 100 points. And he sat Marner. And again, from a coaching perspective, I get it. I'm okay with it. But I'm telling you, there's a strong percentage of the fan base that will say it's not right. I'm just telling you. That's what you're going to hear. I'm just telling you from
most of those guys never played a team sport, and have to eat ice cream cones with their forehead.
Listen, I agree. The muffinization of the fan base is ridiculous, but they all still buy jerseys, and they all still.
We all want them to score 70 goals, absolutely. And if there's a way to do that, Keith is going to give them. He's playing them in situations now. You see it that he's giving them the opportunity.
So here's the real question. The real question. What is the number to guarantee an MVP? Is it 70?
I don't think 70 gets him to the MVP, honestly.
Wow. You don't think 70 goals gets him an MVP?
To me, it should. But, you got a couple other guys. You got 3 other guys there that – McDavid's going to have 100 assists. That's 70 goals. If you look at comparables, that's 70 goals.
What's the hardest? What is the hardest thing to do in the NHL? The hardest thing.
Keep you happy.
Well, okay. The second hardest thing to do in the
Score
NHL.
Goals.
Score goals.
For sure. 100%.
The hardest thing to do.
I'm with you. My vote would be for Austin probably if he gets 66. My vote's for Austin. Now, having said that, McKinnon's having a year.
Oh,
right.
Great year. Kucherov's having a year.
Yeah. So what you're going to see is you're going to see some vote splitting. There's always a Canada-US thing and an East-West thing that you're going to see. Okay, people are going to say,
you know what? That's a great point. I never thought about that, John. That's a great point.
Yeah. You're going to have vote splitting. You're going to have the Canadian media that's going to probably go with Edmonton or Toronto guy. You're going to have the US media. It's the media that vote. You're going to have the U.S. media that are going to turn around and say, okay, well, Kucherov and McKinnon, right? Big market, Tampa, Colorado.
You know what?
Here's the one that you got to watch for.
Xavier's an American too, though. He might get the American vote.
No, he's a kind of Canadian team. He may. Watch for the King Clancy. Or is it
Ted Lindsay?
What's the one?
Ted Lindsay.
The one the players vote for.
Ted Lindsay.
That, to me, has more clout than a heart. Because the players are voting, your peers, the guys that have to suit up against you every night and see it firsthand. So, to me, that is a more important trophy if I'm a player than the heart.
Fair.
Right? Half the writers are, 10 years past their shelf life, and they have their vote and they keep it. And So, but you know what? They're all four of them are deserving. I mean, there's been some tremendous hockey played this year. McDavid looked like he was down and out at when they hired Knobloch.
I think he's got 27 points in his last 9 games or something.
Oh, I know. And McKinnon and Cooch just keeps. I mean, he just keeps rolling down there.
He's 3 points every night. Kucherov is.
Yeah. So Tampa might be a tough out in the first round too. Don't count them out.
And listen, not only don't count Tampa out. Tampa's got Vasilevsky.
Right.
And I don't care what planet you're on. If Vasilevsky decides he's Vasilevsky, they can win the cup. Full stop.
Absolutely.
Period.
Anybody that gets in, any 16 team, if they ride a hot go, but for sure he's done it.
If Vasilevsky's on, there's no better goalie in the world. Yeah. And there's no better goal when he is on. There's no Jake Ott. I mean, I'm just for a lot of Leaf fans that don't watch a lot of stuff going on outside the Leafs. If you're paying attention to a team in the West right now, watch the Dallas Stars. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
Watch the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
The Dallas Stars are a well-coached team. The Dallas Stars are fundamentally sound. I've watched them play for the last 2 weeks. Man, if they're Jake Ottinger, if you don't know a lot about Jake Ottinger as a goalie, I'm telling you right now, if that goalie gets on, he could be Vasilevsky. That's how good he is. That's my 2 cents.
He can play. Yeah, 100%. So
I don't see anybody like
Winnipeg goalie
team coming out of the West, Johnny.
Hellebuck. There's another guy.
You know what though? Winnipeg's been in the proverbial. I think in the last, listen, Winnipeg did what they actually. If we're going to be honest about Winnipeg, Winnipeg's done exactly what they did last year. Winnipeg was flying high, and then you know what? Inflation, carbon tax. The Jets ran out of gas, man. They're just crashing.
Yeah, well, their coach has been gone for 6 or 8 games now. He had some surgery.
Yeah,
that'll play part of it. They're going to be there. They're going to be there. They're going.
I'm worried about the Jets. I'm worried about the Jets.
Vancouver will be out long before Winnipeg, in my opinion, in the West. Right?
Winnipeg. Who's Winnipeg probably going to get? They're going to get the Kings.
They're third in the Central right now, so let me pull it up. I think they'll play Dallas or Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado right now.
Oh.
Dallas is 3 points up in Colorado.
They're a good club. They're
not going to beat Colorado or Dallas.
All right.
Yeah. Well, sticking with predictions, do you guys want to get to the point predictions?
Yeah.
Sure.
What do we got coming up? I don't even know who's playing this week. I know Montreal Saturday.
We got
Tampa, Montreal,
tomorrow.
We got Tampa tomorrow. In Montreal on Saturday. Marner comes back. Or is expected to come back that day. And then Monday back home against Pittsburgh and Dubas. So 6 points on the table. What are you guys going? You guys are on a little hot streak.
I'm gonna Johnny. I am going to shock the world, and I'm gonna say the Maple Leafs are gonna get 6 out of 6 points. I like what we're doing right now. I think what I like. I'm going to ignore the last 2 minutes of that Florida game, and I'm going to pretend it didn't happen. And I'm going to say if we can play like that against Tampa, in Tampa again, I'm not worried at all. Montreal plays hard all the time, but Montreal's checked out. And St. Cole Caulfield, bless his heart, he's already worried about the golf course. And Pittsburgh, as much as I love Sid, and let's give a shout out to Sidney Crosby, by the way. Sidney Crosby is going to tie Gretzky's record this year for 19 seasons of averaging a point a game.
He just did last night.
Did he do it?
Yeah.
Listen, so I'm going 6-6, but before you get to your point predictions, I've got Sidney Crosby 4th all time. Where do you place him? Where do you place him? He makes my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he's definitely 5.
Place him.
He's in the top 5 now, I think. I've always had Gretzky 1,
yep,
or 2, Howe 3, And I mean, Lemieux.
That's age difference, though, Johnny. Because I'm going the other way. I've got Gretzky, I've got Lemieux. I'm going Orr just because he changed the game. And then I'm going Crosby over Howe.
Yeah, no, not for me. No.
It might be age. I can accept.
Yeah, I just saw Gordy at the tail end of his career for sure. I just look at all the if you look at the guys like Gretzky and the guys that watch Gretzky talk about Gordie Howe, and his eyes light up.
No, it's a fair point.
Light up.
Yeah,
right?
It's a fair point.
Gordie was feared. He would score. He played for 50 years or something. He was playing in the NHL at 50-something years old.
You know what? You could talk me into it. Like that's what I'm saying though.
But no disrespect to Sid, obviously. Known him.
I could probably be talked. I could be talked into flipping him. I got
him in the top 5 for sure. But there's some people that say, "Oh well, Bobby Orr." Bobby Orr to me is, Bobby Orr would be the closest one to me to upset Gretzky for one. So if he had played a little bit longer.
And John, here's why I agree with you. I agree with you because I have the utmost respect for Grapes. Grapes is one of my all-time favorites in hockey. And, that man has forgotten more about hockey than any of us will ever know. And the way he talks about Bobby, I have no problem in saying to you that he's number 2. Like I have no, and you know what? I also go back to my dad. My dad, said to me, he was like, John, you can't appreciate it because you weren't there and you didn't see it happen in real time. Yeah. But for a defenseman to pick the puck up behind his net and just go through everybody and make it look like it was no big deal. He'd score, put his head down and skate back to center ice.
He won the Art Ross twice.
That's what I mean as a defenseman.
And guess what? When Bobby Orr was skating through teams and doing what you just said he was doing, he had guys like Dave Schultz. He had guys like grabbing him and hauling him to the ice. And he fought. Bobby had 20 or 30 fighting majors.
Tough as nails. Tough.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Bobby Orr as number 2. I don't have a problem with that.
What's your prediction, Nolan? Then I'll tell you mine.
I'm going to go 4 points. Let's keep it different.
I'm going to go right in the middle and go 5. They'll drop a point.
Okay.
Maybe Pittsburgh.
All right. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
So listen.
I think I'm good.
Okay, so the one thing that I want to add, and it's not Maple Leafs related, but listen, as a girl dad, I'm going to tell you guys, if you like college basketball, if you are not paying attention to the women's Final Four right now, do yourself a favor. I'm telling you, the Final Four right now for women is probably better than the Final Four that you're going to see for the men. You got UConn and Iowa. South Carolina's undefeated. I'm telling you, if I'm a huge proponent of girls sports, and I just think if you are a sports fan and you haven't checked out women's basketball, women's college basketball, get into it. This is your time. Give these girls a shot, man, because there is so much talent right now on the basketball court for women that check them out. It's going to be.
I like seeing the Caitlin Clark beat Angel Reese though.
Listen,
after last year's
I can't
debacle,
stand Angel Reese.
Yeah,
with the whole ring thing, and then she came back and dropped 41 last night. Listen, but you know what I love though? I love about Angel Reese. Angel Reese, who, and for those who don't know, she's a star player for Louisiana State. They played Iowa last year in the Elite Eight and won. And there was a little trash talking going on between her and Caitlin Clark, who's the highest scoring player in NCAA history. Scored more points than anybody. And this year, you know what? When the talking was done and she lost, she gave her a little tap and said, "Good luck." And I love that. That's the best way to do it. You know what? Be cocky when you win. Earn what you got. But when you lose, shake your hand, wish the other person good luck, and say, "Go get them." Ty. Like, I love it. That's the best way for athletics to be. And if you're around this weekend, give the women's Final Four a shot. You're going to be glad you did.
Yeah, for sure. They just saw a report, Carter Verhaeghe out for the season, regular season. They're hoping he's ready for the playoffs, upper body.
Yeah, I saw him leave last night.
Well.
Wasn't sure what happened to him, but
the turntables have turned.
Well. You know what? I've always started like to play Florida in the playoffs.
Well, it could be Toronto's home if they get the 6 points this week. They're right there. They got a chance to get home ice.
I kind of don't want home ice. 1-5 last year at home.
No, you gotta have home ice.
We've got Florida. Second last game of the season, we got Florida. That could be a Titanic game.
We got Tampa twice too.
Yeah.
We got against Tampa.
Tampa. So we got Tampa, Montreal, Pittsburgh, Jersey twice, Detroit, Florida, Tampa is how we end. Listen, Detroit's going to be scrapping for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Jersey's mailing it in now. Jersey's mailing
it in. Right. So you got to figure. So if we figure we're going to take 5 out of, let's say we get 5 out of 6. Let's say John wins this one and goes 5 out of 6. We're all happy, right? Nobody's complaining.
Nobody's complaining if they get 2 points and they stay healthy coming out of those 3. This is inconsequential right now.
But if we're talking about home ice, we got to believe that we're going to beat Jersey.
You think?
Detroit, Florida, Tampa is how we end last 3 games. That last 3 games could decide home ice.
Good. Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah. And then Matthews maybe in the lineup to get to 70, right? I'd like to see him get 4 or 5 in the next couple, and then
you just coast on in.
Yeah.
Hattie more against Tampa, then Hattie against Montreal on Saturday, and then 2 more on Monday.
Yeah, Saturday night in Montreal will be, I think, a big night for Austin Matthews.
All right.
Listen, he always shows up when the lights are bright.
And then you're gonna have Reeves and Wi-Fi, right?
XJ or whatever the hell his name is. Yeah, that guy.
All right, hey, have a good week. Thanks to Don Cherry's Sport Grill and Bjorn, of course, and we'll talk next week. One thing I wanted to mention, and we talked about it before. Would our listeners or viewers be interested in maybe playoff nights, whether we do a little 15-minute pregame show or an intermission show or something like that? Certainly comment on our socials if that's something that you're interested in. And not sure if we can be available every night, but pretty sure we could put something together and maybe we'll do a live stream while we're watching the game, and the 3 of us can kind of talk about what's going on what we see while we're watching the game or something one night,
or post-game show or something.
Yeah. Oh, one of our viewers just Tracy Hawkins says yes. So perfect. Yeah.
Trace, you never know. You never know, Trace.
Yeah.
That sounds.
She's that's Nolan's mom, and she likes. Yeah. No, she's awesome. I've known Tracy forever, and that'd be great. I think it'd be fun. Maybe we'll bring Tracy on for an episode.
You know what we should do?
Yeah.
You know what we
Sometimes
should do?
She's been one to state her opinion, Nolan. Am I right?
Yeah. No, you're right. Especially with hockey, but
maybe what we do is maybe we have a ladies' night. Maybe we bring on her mom or Nolan's mom, Tracy. We bring on your bride. We bring on my bride. And we have a ladies' night.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll talk about that off the air.
All right, boys, go Leafs, go.
Yeah. Have a good week, folks.